as ever, if you'd like to have any questions addressed to these two, then please do tweet us at BuildSeriesLDN. Or if you're watching on Facebook Live, then just leave a comment below. How are you guys doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Very well.
Too bad, not too bad. How are you?
Excellent. Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. So I am really excited to be talking about the Umbrella Academy because I think there's been a lot of buzz around this for a while. Finally, it's coming to our screen. So tell us a little bit about it, Tom.
Well, they just there's this man called Reginald Hargreaves, and he buys them from these women, and he basically turns them into this superhero, One Direction of superhero children. And,
that would make Tom Harry Styles, definitely.
Yeah. Yes. Well, you've got the hair for it.
Yeah, you actually do.
Yeah. And because of it, and for the funeral, they all come back together.
And so it's based on the comics and graphic novels created and written by Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance, which is, I love that. What a great piece of trivia. So were you fans of this before you starred in it?
I don't know about you. Were you? I mean, I wasn't aware of the comic book before I got the script through. In fact, I got a message from my agent going, yeah, it's based on a graphic novel Netflix are doing. They're interested in you for this part. And interestingly enough, the comic book was written by one of the Chemical Brothers. Weird. I was like, all right. Really? Wow. So that's how much I knew, basically.
Amazing. Let's have a little look at the trailer. It just looks so much fun. So, was that the first time you'd seen the trailer? You were looking at it like you hadn't seen it before?
No, we just enjoy it every time.
I've seen it on a small phone-sized screen. It was nice to see it on that big gigantic
Yeah, that's true, actually, yeah.
So do you know how true this stays to the original comics?
It's a very big nod to the comics, let's put it that way. It's very much inspired by the comics.
Yeah.
The first episode in particular is, I would say, very accurate. But what we've done and what Steve Blackman has done, our amazing showrunner, has just broadened out these characters and this world. So it's grounded it a lot more. You know, we managed to make these characters human and, you know, what they would really be.
Because, I mean, you're both coming at these characters from very different ends of the spectrum, aren't you? So, how did you prepare?
You know, I tried a few different things for this character because, well, you know, he was kind of almost baked, really, by the first time that I read the script. But then, you know, like when you're an actor, there's a lot of doing weird stuff in a room alone, like trying to figure out the physicality in the voice and, you know, how this person might hold themselves and why. So I did lots of video diaries and, you know, writing down stuff as the character, like sort of trying to get into an automatic writing sense. But to be honest, I don't know if any of that helped. But, you know, I mean, you just sort of, I was like filming myself a lot and stuff, trying to figure out, just trying to figure out his posture and his physicality and, you know.
He's quite flouncy, isn't he?
He's very flouncy. He's quite fluid.
Yeah.
There he is, yeah.
There he is.
Super high, sort of sums it up, doesn't it, really? That was actually not on a photo shoot. That was just, they just caught Rob on a stroll.
Coming out.
That was at breakfast one morning.
That was at breakfast, yeah.
What about you, Tom?
Well, the tricky thing with, there he is, big guy. As you can see, that's not my actual body, and
I was really disappointed, I'll be honest.
I thought, that guy's hench. The big thing for me was I was so dob a little bit. Like once I got it on and I was moving around the costume, I was like, okay, this is what this guy feels like.
Right.
But
warm.
Very warm, yeah. And we shot through degrees Celsius, so.
Yeah, that day from the trailer where we're all at the funeral dropping the ashes, that was about minus 15 degrees Celsius, and they had rain machines on us, which had to be freezing rain, or otherwise it would vapor.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it was too warm, so we were like shivering, and then they're like, "And rain machine."
Thank you.
So those umbrellas, we were hiding under them for reals.
Had any of you worked together before? Any of you?
We hadn't, no.
So did you have to do any chemistry reads? Because so much sort of relies on your little relationships, these kind of cross relationships between the seven of you.
I don't think, I know I did some chemistry reads with some actresses who were being seen for Alan. I was like, no.
After a while you have to wonder, is it me?
I did. But yeah, Emmy there, what someone's offering as a character, you know. And yeah, we all became like a bunch of siblings very quick.
I mean, I didn't have to do anything. You know, it was great.
Just
you know,
scrawny
it's nice
to begin
because
with.
the macho lads had to do all the fight choreography and all the extra work. They were like, do as little as you possibly can. The less you do, the better. And I was very dedicated.
He was very good at that. Very good.
Did you then have to do loads of training for this?
I have a fair bit of fighting to do, and there's some dancing as well. That was the bit, the thing that I didn't get to play out some dance moves that only.
An actually interesting bit of trivia, Ellen Page's wife, Emma, choreographed a beautiful dance that takes place between
really?
Tom and
Yeah.
Emmy later on in the series, and it's really sort of interesting and quite sort of it's
La-
quite
La- La
sort
La
of
Landy.
performance arty, you know.
That sounds incredible. And you get to do like the Running Man as well.
Yes, absolutely. As well as my crab, I do this move called the crab. That's that. Yeah.
David did that as well,
Did David do that?
Possibly.
David's got some move. He plays Diego, the guy on the end here. He's got some serious moves.
He does, actually,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I want to about a monocle.
Oh, right.
We've actually got captivates audiences so much, so I'm guessing like the sort of superhero-esque genre.
I think there's something about a superhero is something that sometimes I think all of us either long to be, or the more interesting the power, the more interesting the group and the show, I suppose. And we all.
We'll talk a bit more about your powers, because I feel like we haven't touched on...
Well, the powers are interesting because they by themselves are sort of, you know, variations on things we've seen before. But I think what's very interesting and unique about the show is the characters who have the powers, they have a fallibility behind it, so that they misuse their powers, because Reginald Hargreaves never taught these people to be people. He didn't teach them how to be emotionally stable. So, like, they all have these abilities, but they don't know how to be human beings behind them, how to wield them correctly, responsibly, whatever. So they end up doing huge damage to their supposedly normal lives. You know, they're like disabilities. They're these things that alienate them from the rest of the world. And my guy can commune with the dead, but the problem is that the dead keep communing with him. Do you know what I mean? He keeps badgering him. And so Steve Blackman was the showrunner of the show. He took it and he wanted to very much couch take it from the comic book and couch it in a reality that we all recognize. So instead of Klaus levitating in the graphic novel, he's just a dude who's just takes a lot of drugs to suppress the dead from badgering him. You know, it's the only thing that can temporarily kind of suppress his ability that's not in control. And the whole thing is just an allegory for drug addiction. You know, he essentially takes drugs to silence the voices in his head, the emotional turmoil. And that's what's so interesting about the show, that all of these powers are, you know, these abstract things, but really they're things that, they're metaphors for things that people cope with on, you know, in everyday life.
And also, you'd expect in a sort of effects and CGI. So there's a moment, for example.
Well, that you'd be describing is Pogo.
Yes, of course, Pogo.
The chimpanzee sort of butler is. How tall is Ken? He's like 4 foot something.
Yeah, maybe not even.
Yeah.
He's about 3'10"
Yeah.
I'd say.
Okay.
And about the size of what Pogo is
Right.
there.
Actually,
And
but then again, he's like the same height as Ellen in some shots.
I think Ellen is
So
particularly
maybe
short.
he's slightly taller.
Yeah.
I love seeing Ella next to you, by the way. That's just my
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's it's the best vision. Yeah, that's pretty
That's
accurate.
that,
That is
yeah.
basically what it is. Yeah. I love that Aidan is nearly taller than who plays number 5. Who's nearly taller than Ellen as well.
Ken Hall, you know, one of the great improvisational comedy dudes of Toronto. So he was great, you know. He was always
Really?
kind of, you know, if you threw a curveball at him, you know, he was ready for it.
I feel like you do like to throw a lot of curveballs.
Oh yeah, he's yeah.
Right?
I get bored very easily, you know. But they encourage that type of behavior on this channel, so it's great.
Actually, can we talk about some of your more outrageous moments? Because you get a lot of them pretty much straight away. So is there anything you've ever been like, actually, I'm not going to do that? Or do you say yes to everything? It feels like you say yes to everything.
Yeah, this was very much a yes job. Yeah, there's no point in, you know, going into it half-cocked.
God, you look good there.
Bedraggled.
Yeah, that's the face of a man who will try anything.
Yeah. crack addict.
Because you're asked to get naked quite a lot in this as well. I felt like we saw you.
Do I? Sorry, I was completely drunk at the time. Yeah, no, I do get quite in the
naked.
second episode, I do get quite naked.
Yeah.
I had a full scene with Pogo just wearing like a tiny little skimpy brief, actually.
I enjoyed
so
it.
he was about crotch height. Lucky devil.
Lucky Pogo.
It was like those scenes from Labyrinth where you just see David Bowie's crotch.
Bowie's like
from,
helmet
from
just
Hoggle.
sort of drifting to
Same
shot.
as Pogo to you.
What an image.
I wish I was that blessed, Tom.
I bet you can't wait to see this based on that description alone. It also stars the incredible Mary J. Blige. So what was it like working with her? Like her rocking up on set with you guys?
Yeah, Mary's wicked. She's so
Yeah.
sweet.
She's so lovely, yeah. She's such a sweetheart of a human being.
Yeah.
She looks terrifying there.
She does, yeah, she plays a ruthless assassin in the show.
Yeah.
Does it sort of change the atmosphere having somebody of that like caliber who you know probably more for sort of?
I don't think
I don't think it does, no.
No.
Particularly because I think everyone who is cast in this show is very down to earth.
Yeah,
you know?
there was no fanfare around
No.
her. You know, she was, she was there in the humblest sense. She'd say things like, "Oh, I'm just here. I really want to learn. I want to get better at acting, and it's nice watching you guys."
Yeah.
And you're like, "You were Oscar nominated last year. You know, I think you're doing all right." Very humble, very sweet.
Did you learn anything from watching each other? Because there are so many of you with different sort of techniques. What did you pick up?
Absolutely, and the thing is, what's so telling him that I had a time when I was listening to a monologue he was doing, and I had the next line, and I was watching it. That's really good. And then there was this silence. I was like, "It's me."
That's really lovely. And you were filming in Canada, so you mentioned. What did you do in your downtime then? If it was so cold, what could you do?
You were playing hockey on the slide, weren't you?
I think Rob just doubted me there. The showrunner didn't know, but I don't think Netflix knew I was playing ice hockey at the time in case I got injured. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I played a bit
Too
of ice
late
hockey.
now.
It was something I always wanted. Where I got myself some skates and a stick and stuff.
So was she sort of? Did she give you any tips of what
Yeah,
to do?
well,
where to
she
go?
did live in Toronto.
Yeah,
when
she knew the
was
city very well.
17, 18. She lived there for a couple of years. Me and her would go off on these random hikes to like woodland areas on the edge of the town. You know, we'd sort of take a Sunday and go, all right, we're going to take this train and then this train and get a bus up to this Carruthers Woods and then like go hiking. And we just like go off on these random treks. It's nice.
That sounds so cool. You also each have like a young counterpart in this as well. So did you have to do did you meet them beforehand? Did you work on your sort of characteristics together? Because they kind of pop up throughout.
We did. Do you remember we were sort of figuring out with the young'uns what each of our action figures would look like.
Really?
which were made for the show. You know, they show up as memorabilia in the show. So we were kind of exchanging physicality ideas, I think, for the characters. But they're such sweethearts. They were so lovely and
they just wanted to know more about what we were doing as our, adult selves and stuff. And yeah, they were great. They were great to have around. It was so cool to just see mini versions of us running around together.
incredibly mature.
They were. Yeah.
More than you guys.
Yeah. I think about myself when I was their age, and I was like, I wouldn't be that mature about this. Yeah.
I was like, I bet you're all shirking your homework now. You're on a TV show. Screw school, yeah. And they're like, oh, no. No, we have to finish our homework. That's the only way that we can come and do this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, right. Okay, right. They were very, very well behaved, bless them.
And what are the Umbrella Academy fans like?
Well, we're yet to meet many of them,
Really?
but the ones that I've met so far, the Umbrella Academy comic, is all comic book fans, because they have an idea of what their favourite superhero should be like.
That of Midsummer Murders. You have one scene.
I watch Midsummer
You watch
Murders.
It's good.
And
It's
you know,
good, isn't
when
it?
we were in Toronto,
Yeah.
the whole back catalogue of Midsummer Murders got put on Netflix.
You just
So I
watched
was
them
like,
all.
kept going home watching it. Like,
the one with John Nettles or the one with
always Nettles.
Dudgeon.
You know,
Yeah,
I don't
Nettles.
even look at anything post Nettles.
No. You know why he left?
Why?
We asked him because we interviewed him years ago. I probably shouldn't say that. I think he said this on camera. He said the scripts. He said he just felt the scripts weren't as good as they were to begin with. Yeah, because people like Alan Plater used to write the scripts for.
I mean,
you know,
the
he's a
early
good
ones,
scriptwriter.
you see so many familiar faces that went on to have great
Absolutely,
careers.
yeah.
You know,
Let's just talk about Midsummer.
Yeah.
No, what I was going to say was in that, I mean, in the latter series where perhaps the budget was a bit slimmer, you see one scene and there's Barnaby investigating somebody on a frost-bitten lawn, and then you cut to the next scene and it's a beautiful summer's day and the bunting's out and the village green, and no, won't do.
Do you know what, Richard? On a slight tangent, I once read a quote from you.
Oh, here we go.
It was just so great.
Go on.
You were like, nobody knows what babies are dreaming. I bet if they recorded a baby's dream, that would be a smash hit.
and
sounds like one of
the
mine.
Umbrella Academy, right?
Yeah, sounds like one of mine, I must admit. Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, babies do. After a while, you see the, what do they call it, the REM, the REM. You see the rapid eye movement. Before babies can talk, they are definitely. What about dreaming about milk?
I don't know.
Perhaps, you know, or
Maybe
rattles?
we should
Rattles
all,
taking over the world?
If there's a text in part of this show, people should start. You know,
Well, let me give the numbers out.
make it a
Tell us
chat.
what babies dream of. 0344 499 1000. It's not too late. I must have said it 30 years ago, but it's
made my
not too
day.
late. Gwen from Plymouth has just emailed. She says, Richard, babies dream of a better nappy.
but that's only after they've pooed themselves, surely.